Word in Your Attic, a Zoom with a View.
Okay, welcome to Word in Your Attic with an old friend. Lovely to see you, old friend and colleague, Paul de Noyer. Hello, Paul.
Paul,
hello, good morning.
Good
morning, Bob.
Right, welcome.
Viewers, we ought to point out
this
this is our old pal from Q Magazine and MOJO Magazine and Word Magazine and all sorts of other ventures in between. It's so lovely to see you. How has lockdown been, Paul?
Lockdown has been embarrassingly pleasant for me. I generally feel embarrassed about how easy it is for me when it's so tough for so many other people out there, clearly. For me, it's not that different to life as usual, but with fewer aeroplanes going overhead down to Heathrow.
Yeah.
So, and better weather as well. So all is good here. I can't complain at all.
Is it am I correct in thinking it's your birthday today, Paul?
It is my birthday, yes.
And
It's also Martin Carthy's birthday,
Oh,
very excitingly.
Oh, wow.
And Noel Fielding. Just the thought. I just noticed in the paper this morning. Martin Carthy, 79.
I'm honoured.
Yeah. Good work. How are you celebrating this great occasion?
I can see a big shiny red bottle of Barolo in my near future when the sun goes over the yard arm later
At about
on.
10:30 this morning.
Yeah, it's usually 11, but as it's my birthday, 10:30 will do.
So what you been doing with yourself during these curious times?
Funnily enough, I've had quite a bit of work to do, although this is my first Zoom conference, but I've been pretty busy. I'm rewriting an old John Lennon book I did years ago. It's going to come out in a big, super deluxe new edition.
Oh, I remember that. You Can All Shine On, wasn't it?
Yes. Well,
yes.
It's going to be called. It's now going to be called The Complete John Lennon Songs, 1970 to 1980, with added stuff from Yoko, and she's allowed me to reprint all of John's lyrics next to each song. So it'll be a much improved kind of book. So I've been doing that and a few other bits and pieces.
All right.
It's fantastic.
You haven't been doing what a lot of people have been doing that we've spoken to, that they're conducting a kind of audit of their worldly pop goods and the stuff in their attics, and thinking, why the hell have I got this? How did I ended up with this? Why haven't I let it go? Have you done any of that?
Yeah, I have been doing that, but it wasn't to do with lockdown. I was already in that process because Liverpool University have begun a thing called the Paul de Noyer Archive. And so
really?
Every few weeks I drive up there with the archive boxes full of what I would call crap, but what they will call research materials.
Oh, really?
So some PhD student in the 21st century wants to know all about how Reckless Eric was sold to the public. They'll find a brick inside this box with Reckless Eric on the side. And
you've kept the brick.
That is fantastic. I had a Reckless Eric brick and I threw it away. It had the whole wide world on it. That's right, yeah. That's amazing.
That's so funny. Mark and I still talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
We still got a Reckless Eric brick. And that's the first time, Mark, that I've ever heard you use the expression, I threw the Reckless Eric brick away. Immensely visual image.
What did it hit? Yeah.
What were the consequences of that? But for the benefit of anybody who didn't remember this, Reckless Eric had an album called Big Smash.
That's right.
And
I don't remember the album. I just remember the brick.
I probably got the album here. Stiff Records, who were brilliant at doing really cheap publicity gimmicks, they got a load of bricks and they just painted on the side of them Big Smash, didn't they?
Did.
Yes.
And then they gave them to all the journalists, obviously by hand because you couldn't post them. And so it's been, ever since then, it's the kind of image of the useless promotional gift. But you kept yours.
Not useless at all, not for students at Liverpool University.
No, not for PhD students of the 22nd century, perhaps.
That's right.
That's hilarious.
Stiff Records sent a team round to the enemy office when Ian Dury had that album called Do It Yourself with all the wallpaper
It did.
patterns. And Stiff, or Cosmo Vinyl probably, came round with a gang of painters and decorators to redecorate the enemy office.
I was in the sounds office when that occurred. Yes.
Yes.
They did that in the sounds office on the same day. They're absolutely brilliant at that. Actually, talking to this, the second time that this record has figured in one of these this week. This is the first Madness album.
Yeah.
And you probably got a copy of this.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Well, if you go onto the back of it, you'll probably find there is a little sticker there. And I don't expect you to be able to read this because I'll read it to you. But this says, this album belongs to Dave Hepworth, 000001, self-destructs at record exchanges. And I guarantee you, if you go to your copy, yours will say, this album belongs to Paul de Noyer, 000001. It'll say exactly the same thing.
I'm not sure mine's got a sticker on it now. I've got anxiety and envy issues, but one thing I can tell you about the front of that album is that they are holding a handrail. That's how they achieve that pose. You can't see it, but they're all.
Wow!
They're
we
invisible.
learned more and more about that picture because we only noticed the other day that there's actually only 6 of them on it. There's a Chat Smashers on the back. There's actually only 6 members of Madness on the front, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. We were talking. Was it Mari Wilson who was talking about it?
Yeah,
it wasn't it, Mark?
Was, yeah.
And we were talking to Mari Wilson, and she's talking about a photographer mate of hers. He said he took the cover on the first Madness album, and I was able to go, "Oh, you mean this one?" Which is absolutely extraordinry.
I made it clear that wasn't in any way pre-planned. I know.
And now we're talking about it even more. Yeah, that's fantastic. So your stuff is being collected, taken up to the Celestial City, and placed in a vault somewhere. Is somebody going through this stuff and logging all brick 1, 1978 or whatever it was?
Well, apparently, I'm in the row next to the collected correspondence of David Owen or something, or Roger McGough and the Liverpool Poets. I'm in this big warehouse of stuff.
But what else have they got? So is it items like bricks, obviously, but also is it interview tapes or is it what are these artifacts?
Yeah, I've already given them interview tapes. They're especially interested in this book I wrote called Wondrous Place, which is a sort of history of Liverpool's popular culture. I've given them all the interview tapes from that, and I've got loads more tapes, and I don't know what to do with them. I'm very reluctant to give away interview tapes because it's just personally too embarrassing.
Absolutely.
I could not agree more, because interview tapes are full of your own voice, A, asking inane questions, and B, laughing uncontrollably to try and encourage somebody to come up with more revelations. And you just sound absurd.
Because a print interview is nothing like a broadcast interview where everybody has to talk concisely, trading sound bites. A print interview is done generally in a pub or a hotel. You have an hour or two. It's a meandering conversation. And on the part of a journalist like me, there's an awful lot of buttering up, a lot of warming up. And it sounds to a neutral observer, it sounds so abjectly sycophantic.
It is.
And your questions are...
fawning.
Well, fawning and so long-winded because you tried multiple attempts to get them to open up. And so you ask the same question in 7 different formulations. And
that's right.
It's purgatory to listen to, unless somebody just wants to enjoy realizing what an idiot you are, And so I don't like people to hear my interview tapes. I'd like to destroy them, but I shouldn't. I know.
No, I know what you mean. It always fascinates me that and also they have to be pretend social encounters, haven't they? They have to be pretend friendly. And so you're sitting there going, yeah. And inside you're just desperately, a different person is inside you, desperately trying to think what you're going to ask next. How are you going to get them back to the subject of so-and-so? While the person on the outside is just laughing, and smiling and apparently enjoying the whole encounter at all. Inside you're sweating.
And the worst thing is that you're trying very, very hard to think of the next question, so you're not actually listening to what they're saying.
Well, they're talking to you.
They'll say something like, if I was to sum up my entire career in just 3 words, those 3 words would be, and you go, so, well, how's the new album? Did it all just kind of come together in the studio? And you think, what? And you listen back to that in agony. Think, what was I thinking?
Yes, they'll be saying, and it was at that point that actually I developed a sudden heroin addiction. I'll go, yeah, great, but on to the second album now. Did that all come together?
Exactly.
And it's just murders. Listen back to it. You think, all the missed chances.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, at least you've kept them all. I Mark, you've kept loads, haven't you?
I have. Again, I don't know what I'd do with them. I've even got I've got radio shows when I was on Radio 1 and stuff like that in the 1980s. I think, I would never listen to this. Never. Me playing my Everything But the Girl tracks and Bram Tchaikovsky's Battle Axe, and the things I say in between. Who cares? Why did I even tape them? I've got no idea. But they're there. So if Liverpool wants an archive and terrible old cassettes and
the University of Guildford with you, Mark.
That's right, it would be.
So have you got any show and tell to show us, Paul? Have you?
I've got. Yes, despite all the research materials I've sent to Liverpool University, I've also sent a lot of stuff. I've bought a little house in Liverpool, and in the cellar I've got a replica pub. There's a pub in central Liverpool called the Swan, and it's a heavy metal pub. And I go there with my sons, and we thought, wouldn't it be great if we had the Swan at home? So we've built a replica.
That is fantastic.
We haven't got beer pumps, but we've got a big beer fridge and loads of most of my vinyl is up there now. So that's but I've still got loads of crap here. What do you want? First record I bought, is that kind of?
Yeah, whatever you got.
Let's have a look. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have a record player until I was 16 or so. I used a tape recorder before that. So by the time I was buying records, I had all this rock and roll in my head that I knew I'd like to own. So I wasn't buying contemporary records much, but I was buying things like this from junk shops, Chuck Berry.
Beautiful.
And later on, as someone said to me, Chuck Berry was so amazingly mean. What he's doing here is he's trying to figure out how to get his money back out of the machine.
He's had to put a sixpence in to play his own record.
He's got a whole goddamn nickel in there.
That's right.
I used to buy this, similar things from, they were called junk shops. They weren't charity shops. They were, you donate to these shops. You wanted to get money off them. You wanted money to pay your gas bill or whatever. And I thought there was quite a lot of human drama behind the records, because I always pictured some elderly teddy boy who'd had to bring his records in order to buy a pram, because he'd now got his girlfriend in an interesting condition, and life had to move on. So I always thought of this mythical teddy boy every time I bought these old rock and roll records in his council flat in Bootle, wondering where his Chuck Berry records had gone. So it's melancholy.
This
is the record that changed my life.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
It's Kilburn the High Roads, Ian Jury's early band, Kilburn and the High Roads.
Yeah.
Wonderful painting by Ian Jury's wife. And it literally changed my life. I'm not kind of hyperbolizing. It was 1976, the NME advertised for its hip young Gunslingers, and they asked you to write a sample review. And this was my favourite album at that time. And so I wrote a review of this, sent it off to the NME, and they picked me. Tony Tyler was running the process, and he picked me and I think 10 others to come in for an interview at the NME. And as it turned out, they gave the jobs to Julie Burchell and Tony Parsons, but the rest of us were told we could be freelancers. So I became a freelancer, and then they gave me a staff job in a little while, and so I was off. So that was the, it all began with this record, and this is how I became, a cabin boy on the good ship rock and roll.
Is that record, am I correct in saying that record's on the Dawn label?
It's on the Dawn label, yeah, which belonged to It belonged to
Pie,
Pie Records. Yeah.
Pie's attempt to have a hip label was the Dawn label, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. I interviewed Ian Jury towards the end of his life, and I was again gushing. I was saying that record is just. I think it's the best thing he ever did. To be honest, it's even better than New Boots and Panties. His son Baxter agrees with that. Funnily enough, and I was saying it's so good, and he was very sour about it. He was saying because all he can remember is the trouble he had getting paid by the record company, and how he'd see CD reissues appearing on the market and not showing up in any royalty statements or whatever. You know, musicians have always got a slightly different take because to them it's
so definitely.
It's their livelihood, isn't it? It's their income.
It's always their memory of it is the internal war in the band. You know,
it's
the bass player stealing their girlfriend or somebody, you know, some terrible row or physical fight. You know, it's weird. Yeah. So what else have you got? Any other old artifacts?
Well, the first I remember for the first singles, the first kind of contemporary singles that I bought it was actually it was T-Rex, it was Ride a White Swan, which I can't find today, but I certainly have all of these. Let's get it on. That run of early T-Rex singles, which I thought was so glorious. And I remember I took Hot Love it might have been, I took it into school. There was a kind of common room for the lower sixth. And I took that in, or Telegram Sound, or one of those, and it was just greeted with howls of hatred because there were two camps. There were the skinheads stroke soul boys, like Tamla, give us some Tamla, and on the other side of the room, the hairies, Zepp, Tull, Deep Purple. And between the two groups were suddenly united in hatred for this dirty pop crap that I had brought in. And it was an early lesson for me in how people's tastes are. It's not a simple, honest response to a piece of music, is it? It's ideological. It's tribal. And I was baffled because I loved soul music. My favourite single was Band of Gold by Freda Payne. Over here, my favourite album was Led Zeppelin 3 that year. Yeah. And in the middle, this glorious, this is the best run of pop singles since the Beatles 10 years ago. This will never be best in British pop. And I tend to think that's still, but they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't have it. Get out, get out. Take that shite with you, get out. So much fun.
I can remember you tellingly pointing out once that you went to see Tyrannosaurus Rex in Liverpool,
right, yeah.
And you were the youngest person in the audience. And a year later, you went to see T-Rex, and you were the oldest person in the audience. It was a fantastically clever way of explaining exactly what happened to Mark Bolan's kind of constituency.
That's what you call out of time, isn't it? Really,
it is.
Yeah, the first one was at Liverpool Philharmonic, and we got these great seats in the orchestral, this kind of semicircular orchestral bunk, where you could get seats because T-Rex was sitting cross-legged, as you do, and John Peel was comparing. And in my memory, I still had a school uniform on. Mentally, I probably didn't, but I certainly had a school haircut. And I'm surrounded by these impossibly worldly guys who are 17 years old and they've got hair down to the shoulders and beginnings of beards. And I felt so pathetic. But as I say, a year later, I went to Wigan ABC to see T-Rex. And then suddenly I'm this weird, pervy old man surrounded by thousands of screaming schoolgirls. The transformation in Mark Bolan's career was just astonishing, almost literally overnight.
You and I were both at the Wheelie Festival where Bolan came on just after that in 1971 and was just, the hairies just threw kind of bottles of warm wee at him, didn't they? Do you remember?
They did, they hated him. They hated him. Obviously they were in a bad mood because they had to stay up all night to wait for Barclay James Harvest, which would put anybody off their food, wouldn't it? But
they were woken up by Ken Postelnick's drum solo.
They were. You're right. I was right, waiting up for the groundhogs. I'm sure you were too. Not Barclay James Harvest, who came on with a 26-piece orchestra and did Mockingbird. Oh, it was dreadful. It was awful.
You're so right. You're so right about that, though, Paul, with prejudice generally about those things. I remember Paul Morley wrote something really interesting line years ago. He said, the important thing about the chart is not that it gives you things to love, it's that it gives you things to hate. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. You know what I mean?
I think it's very true. It's just the same as football.
I was going to say, it applies to football.
The beautiful game is all about hatred at many levels. And pop music is not so that, but I think somebody was saying on this thing about watching Top of the Pops in those days, you did it with the full family. If you had a younger brother or sister who liked rubbish, you had parents who only liked rubbish. There was you in the middle, the one sane, enlightened person who understood that the point of Top of the Pops was to wait for an appearance by Peter Greenwood Mac or Jethro Tull. The rest of Pops just should have been strangled at birth, and the DJs.
Yeah, and nobody was sitting down in front of Top of the Pops in 1971 or 72 going, "Oh, what a feast of pop music we have coming up!" And then
what diversity! That's why we watch it. It's the variety, rich textures of music.
They were just thinking, "I hope Pounds people haven't got too many clothes on, and we might get to see the video of Peter, Paul, and Mary leaving on a jet plane." Those were the Top of the Pops thrills.
I remember when The Clash had a big hit with Bank Robber, Daddy Was a Bank Robber. And being The Clash, they made took a principled stance and refused to appear on Top of the Pops. Result, Top of the Pops substitutes The Clash with Pan's people.
I remember that.
Dressed up in saucy burglar girl costumes.
They were they were breaking through bars and things.
Probably little masks on them. Hats that say swag on the side. So that was the net result of
that's
the Clash's
blow to the man. It's a blow to the system.
Revolutionary gesture.
That's very funny.
I'll show you something. Oh, do you want to do a little pop quiz?
Go on. Yeah, always up for a pop quiz.
Yeah. Okay, now, can you identify this record?
Oh, yeah, it's a Smith's album. Is it Terence Stamp, the guy in the picture? No, it's not.
No,
that is kind of the answer in a way, because really, if you can spot the difference between these two.
Oh, good grief.
It's one of the very early ones. Something like This Charming Man. It's a very early single, wasn't it? Is it Terence Stamp?
This is Terence Stamp, and this is Morrissey. This was sent to me. I made this single of the week in the NME, and it was sent in one of these slip things. And Rough Trade said, "Apologise for the sleeve, it's not finished yet, but it's a last-minute replacement." It was meant to be Terence Stamp, but he's complained. He says we haven't got the right to use it. So all the Terence Stamp records were hurriedly withdrawn, and Morrissey got tricked up as a replica of Terence Stamp. So one of these is a collector's item now. I don't know which one.
God, that must be worth a couple of bob, surely. That's fantastic.
Possibly a couple of bob, yeah.
As we're discovering. I saw Terence Stamp not that long ago, and I know you're probably one of the few people who spots him. I don't know if you're ever around Piccadilly. He lives on Piccadilly.
Right.
So you do occasionally see Terence Stamp. And I was in Piccadilly a few months ago, and a lovely sunny day, and there he was getting on a red bus going down Piccadilly. And I felt like standing there in front of all the tourists and saying, "Do you realise what you've just missed?
Yeah.
The most emblematic London moment. Terence Stamp, who still looks amazing in his own way, getting on a red bus to go down Piccadilly. You missed it."
I saw him on a tube
about
5 years ago. He's still got those incredible eyes, this fabulous silver hair. And he was with, of course, an unbelievably attractive, quite young girl. And I was thinking the same thing. It's Sergeant Troy. Get the sword out, Incredible. And people didn't recognise him.
No. Every time I go through Waterloo Station, which I do living out here, I go into town via Waterloo Station. And I always look around because in my head, Waterloo Sunset starts playing, and I'm thinking Terry meets Julie. Every Thursday, and I'm always looking out for some kind of modern Terence Stamp figure with a Julie Christie equivalent. And once I was going up there to interview Ray Davis, And I told him all about it. He wasn't in the slightest bit interested.
Well,
You might have heard it before.
Well,
He probably has.
Doesn't Ray Davies claim that it was originally supposed to be Liverpool's Sunset, wasn't it?
Yes, he said he was thinking about some way of.
He had a friend.
The gradual decline of Merseybeat. It had been so, so hip in the first days of the Beatles and Jerry and Scylla and all that, and then it kind of went off the boil just as London was coming up, swinging London was happening, and Ray Davies was very fond of Liverpool, and he wanted to write this kind of elegiac thing about the city, but it changed in the course of the writing. But this is something else that I picked up. That's an early copy of Merseybeat.
Wow.
So
who was that?
It's the Christmas issue.
Oh, it's Brian Poole and the Tremolows.
Brian Poole and the Tremolows with Santa hats on.
Of course.
Which, of course, was compulsory in music magazines in those days.
Of course it was.
Oh, bloody hell, it's late November. Let's take a picture of Phil Lynott with a Santa Claus hat on. Stick some snow on the logo. And,
we used to joke at Smash Hits. The joke was we got into November, and Steve Bush, the art director, used to have to go put some Tipp-Ex on the logo.
Yeah.
little pile of Tipp-Ex supposed to be snow on the top of the logo.
They always had that thing at Radio 1 where they did the Radio 1 calendar. And if you were asked to be the January or February or March pin-up, you might as well start worrying now because your contract clearly wasn't safe. If it was the summer, that's okay, not too bad. And if you were going to be autumn or the Christmas one, particularly, if you were the one they wanted in the Santa Claus outfit, then you knew that your job was secure. But if you were told it was January or February, you might as well start packing.
So have you been listening to lots of records in this enforced solitude?
I've been listening to very, very little music. The main reason being that I'm reading a lot. I'm reading an awful lot. I'm always looking for opportunities to use the word Proustian sentence. I could have used it when I picked up Merseybeat. This is so damn Proust, this newspaper. The reason being that I read that with à la Recherche de Perdue.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, I read that, and I've read Divine Comedy by Dante, read the Iliad, the Odyssey, all the most daunting pieces in the Western literary canon. Anyway, you can't do this. That's incredible.
So you've just read those recently because you've had the time because it's locked down?
Before lockdown, over the last year or so, I've been reading all of these things. And you can't really do that while you're tapping a toe to your old T-Rex records. And you can't do the two things.
So
having said that, Marcel Proust probably goes better with a bit of T-Rex in the background, actually. But anyway.
So
amazingly impressive.
I want to know about your routine, your reading routines. What do? You make a cup of tea and you go out in the garden and you find a comfy seat and you settle down with the Iliad dog. Really?
At the moment, there's a wonder. Yes, but it's lovely to sit out in the garden in this weather. And here's a top recommendation. Do you know this chap, Michael Henderson? Very good writer.
I know the name.
Pops up in the New Statesman and Spectator. And so
okay.
Writes about classical music and cricket. And I know him a little bit. I've been drinking with him. He was the last person I met before lockdown. He invited me for lunch at the Garrick Club.
Oh, very nice.
It's a very civilized way to end, civilized life. So he's achieved the impossible. He's got me to read a whole book about cricket, of which I know, less than bugger all. But it's, if you love a bit of romantic pessimism, then this is the book for you, because it's called That Will Be England Gone. It's a typically gloomy Philip Larkin quotation. And it's about again, you will know and I don't, but the cricket as we have known, and many of us loved it down the years, it's being wiped out, it's being replaced by this trashy, made-for-TV, gimmicky substitute. I don't understand what this means, but apparently it's bad news if you love old-fashioned cricket.
That's right, 2020 and all those one-day events. Isn't it? 'Cause the whole thing about cricket was it's 5 days. You go on Monday, it's going to finish on Friday night. You take your wicker hamper full of asparagus sandwiches and chicken legs, and if you miss something, it doesn't really matter. You're out in the Oval for 5 days. Beautiful.
Yeah, I do. I never got it. I wasn't put in my growing. Nobody did cricket. But in later years, people often said to me, you should get interested because it would suit your temperament. And I didn't know what they meant. It's probably just because I'm slow and boring. But in the end, I thought I probably would fancy cricket if I understood it. And it was a kind of an ambition of mine. One day I'll learn about cricket. Anyway, apparently they've gone and abolished it, so I'm too late.
It's all speeded up now, all very intense.
In cricket's defence, we've just seen the return of the 5-day test, stronger than ever. It's proven to be absolutely has lost none of its power. The other thing is, and I realise this, I'm doing this compilation at the moment. I was talking to Mark about it of kind of 70s gems for Demon 4CD compilation. And one of the tracks I've included is, of course, Roy Harper's When an Old Cricketer Leaves the Crease.
Oh, yeah.
And I wrote a little thing about it. I said, the point about cricket is the nostalgia is woven into the fabric of cricket, always has been. In the days of W.G. Grace, they probably thought, well, it's not the same as it was back in the glory days. And Roy Harper wrote that song in 1974 or something like that. Yeah, it's about Jeff Boycott and Jon Snow, and it's all gone away. Well, no, it hasn't all gone away, because the profound feeling that underpins cricket is it's not as good as it used to be. That's what cricket fans love, feeling that it's not good as it used to be. But I really would like to read that book. I would certainly. I
was thinking of you, Dave, actually, when I got it. It's very much your cup of tea, I would have thought. But
definitely.
Cricket is much better than it used to be from the point of view of professional cricketers, because I never knew this, but the famous guys, the Tom Braveneys and the Fred Trumans, they were treated as they were serfs. They were
players, not gentlemen, were they? Yeah.
They were paid a pittance in the summer and were paid bugger all in the winter. Very famous cricketers, maybe not those two, I don't know, but very famous cricketers. They turned up at the beginning of April with the bat or the ball or whatever it is, and they signed up for another season. But at the end of the season, they'd become bus conductors or grave diggers or something. They were, they had a really miserable, tough existence. Whereas now, there's lots of money. Cricket may have declined in some people's eyes, but there's a hell of a lot of money swishing around. Sky TV.
Oh yeah, top level of sports. That applies right across the board, doesn't it?
Yes,
it's more money than ever before.
Yeah.
So what else have you got to show us?
Scrapbooks. Have you got a little strand?
Yes, come on.
Go
very
on.
Keen on scrapbooks.
Bring them down.
Trying to imagine what it would be apart from T-Rex. We've done T-Rex. It's probably T-Rex.
This is what teenage boys did before video games and the internet were invented. You just start a scrapbook. And in my case, it was April 1970. Jude Rogers rang me up recently. She was doing a piece for The Guardian about the 50th anniversary of the Beatles splitting up. And so I dug out this, and it's a scrapbook of the Beatles splitting up.
Oh, really?
You've done that. That's so brilliant.
And it goes from these slightly elegiac things into really, the Beatles are dead, end of the road. It goes from that into really boring court cases. The next thing, it's Paul McCartney, a gigantic beard, stepping into the law courts in London to sue the other three Beatles, and it becomes very sad. But at the time, or maybe a year afterwards, I would have thought, what an idiot I was making a scrapbook out of Beatles stories from the Liverpool Echo. But I was right. 50 years later, The Guardian was going to ring me up to talk about it. Things which I thought were purely ephemeral have turned out to be set in stone as part of the cultural history of this sceptred isle.
Absolutely. It's amazing, isn't it? Have you read the Craig Brown book?
Not yet. It's on my list. Yeah, I mean, once I've got through the collected works of Homer, I'll get on to Craig Brown.
You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait for Homer. I'm going through a very odd stage of reading. Sometimes I can concentrate and sometimes I can't. And sometimes I'm thinking to myself, should I read something easy to read and superficial? Should I go and find a thriller that I've never read or something? Or should I launch on, I was weighing Martin Chuzzlewit in one hand yesterday against Ian Fleming in the other. I'm trying to think which am I most likely to complete. I haven't decided yet. So,
well, I would say one is for the daytime. One is for the daytime, and the other one is for bedtime. I always take bedtime. I wouldn't take Divine Comedy. I would take P.G. Wodehouse. Somerset Maugham is my favourite at the moment. My favourite light reading in between the heavy short stories of Somerset Maugham. Can't go wrong.
I can remember at Q Magazine, I was so impressed that you used to try and read a Dickens, at least one or two Dickens a year, or reread them. I can remember that so vividly. You'd come in having read Tale of Two Cities on the tube, and then get ready to interview a member of the Jesus and Mary chain. I was thinking, that's a brilliant discipline. Fantastic.
Yeah. I thought it might be an opening conversational gambit. Never seemed to work. So, Jesus and Mary chain, what's your favourite Dickens?
Always breaks the ice at parties.
That's why you can't hear my interview tapes.
I'm hoping that one of your interview tapes that you've got is the Spike Milligan Van Morrison.
Yeah.
Viewers, to remind you, Paul went to interview, with Spike Milligan, who was interviewing Van Morrison. And it's one of the funniest pieces that Q ever ran. Absolutely brilliant. Finishing up with Spike trying to melt the situation, which is a bit fraught, wasn't it? Amuse Van Morrison by wearing a kind of a phallic rubber nose, wasn't he?
He did indeed. That was sheer bloody murder, that thing. It was the awful pauses. Pauses they're okay in real life sometimes, but they sound terrible on a tape. And the reason for the pauses was that Van Morrison would just, as he does, he would cut down every question you threw at him. And he'd cut down my questions. He would cut down Spike Milligan's. Even though Spike Milligan was a great hero of his, he still didn't like to answer anything he thought was too personal. E.g., why are you called Van?
That's right, that was one of the questions, wasn't it? Yeah, why are you called Van? It's none of your business. Don't get fresh with me.
So he was tricky, but Spike Milligan, God bless him, he was such he was meant to be a difficult character, but on this day he was absolutely lovely. And you find yourself in this room not getting on well with Van. I love him in a way. I love Van, but he's hard to get along with, especially when you're a journalist. But Spike, very easy to get along with, and I was warming to him a great deal. And in the end, he just started telling jokes and did his act, which was hilarious, and started just trying to make capering around the garden to make Van Morrison laugh. And we got some great photographs actually. Mike Putland took some wonderful photographs. So the day wasn't wasted, and the interview, for what it's worth, is certainly one of the strangest that I ever did.
Didn't Spike at one stage say to you, "He's a funny bloke"? Did he?
He did. At one point, I think Van went out of the room, and Spike leans over to me and says, "He's a strange man, isn't he?" And I thought, bloody hell, talk about the expert's expert.
When Spike Milligan describes someone as a strange man.
Spike Milligan, the looniest loony who wasn't actually locked up, thinks, that's a really strange man. But it was another wonderful moment of warmth between me and Spike Milligan. I treasured that.
You should put that on Van Morrison's tombstone. A funny man, Spike Milligan. Yeah. Well, Paul, it's been absolutely delightful meeting you, particularly on the occasion of your birthday, which is obviously an event of national significance. There would be street parties, obviously, under normal circumstances. But
under normal circumstances.
Yeah, there would be bunting, there would be bonfires, there'd be dancing. Exactly.
There'd be small children outside singing songs specially composed in your honour. And so you're cut out, you spend half your time in London, you spend half your time in Liverpool. So
under normal circumstances, that would be the routine, yes. But obviously not at the moment. But I'm very happy where I am, very comfortable.
Okay. Well, have a lovely day.
Thank you.
And lovely to see you.
Enjoy the bottle of wine, which you'll be uncorking any minute. It's right.
The countdown has started.
That's right. Great to see you, Paul.
All the very best, Paul. Cheers.
Very good. Bye.